All right, good day, everybody. Mike here, Northeastern Dirt and Property Maintenance. And I'm in the new shop build. And we just finished the 24th arch. That's it. The arches are all up. 30 feet wide, 50 feet long, 16 feet high. That's the size and dimensions of this shop. 24 arches, and we got them all up. You have a look down here. All the arches are up. And what we're working today is the trim. I'm just going to show you guys a little bit about this trim work. And the trim, from what I've done so far, it's kind of basic. And the trim is like the arches. It has to overlap like a shingle so the rain comes down and rolls off. But anyway, here you have the inner piece of trim and the outer piece of trim, and all they really do when you put them up there is they come together like this, right there. You bolt them on the front of the building, just like that, and that gap that's in there, that 3-inch gap, there's where your wall slides in on your upper trim of the building, just like it is right there. And see, there it is. You've got your inner small piece and your larger piece on the outside, and the large piece overlaps right there. It overlaps the smaller one on the inside, just like that. Small, large, bolt them in, butt them together like that basically, and you go up. And the same thing all the way across. Small one on the inside, large one on the outside to form that channel that your wall slides into. And that's really all there is to the trim, at least what I see anyway. And there's your smaller square trim. And there is your larger piece, and all they do is, here's what they do. You put them up there. Small one goes to the inside like so. Large one overlaps. And there, that forms your channel for your wall, front and rear wall to slide into. And that's really all there is to it. But this large one here has to overlap everything to prevent the infiltration of water. And I do recommend putting a bead of butyl caulk or silicone, whatever you want, on this side of the bolts in here. Bead of silicone or butyl caulk there, set it down, and it will squeeze between the two pieces of flashing like a sandwich and keep water from coming in around the sandwich. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm going to do is I'm putting the flashing on the building, because it's very difficult to work with that butyl caulk. I've already been through it. I'm not using it. Not for this job. So what I'm going to do, instead of using butyl caulk, and you can see up there, look up there, I use the butyl caulk right there, squeezed it together like a sandwich, and it all comes shooting out the side. Perfect. Great for water infiltration. Extremely hard to work with. Hard to line up the bolt holes. Just really hard to work with. And I also did it in here. There's actually butyl caulk in here. I'm not doing that anymore. Here's what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm bolting all my flashing dry to the front of the Quonset building, all the way around the front and rear arch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run RTV silicone, one bead of silicone right here, and I'm going to cover two seams where the two pieces sandwich together and where they meet the building. So I'm covering two seams with RTV silicone, and it's probably going to be silver or whatever, gray, silver, whatever. And I'm going to run it right up here like that. When it's done, I'm going to put all the flashing on, and I'm going to run RTV silicone, and I don't care if I have to silicone this every 3rd year, whatever, I don't care. But I'm not going to mess around with that butyl caulk because it's messy and it's too hard to work with. And I can get the flashing to lay a lot neater and a lot tighter to the building, and then flat, and then I will silicone this crack later. So that's the only thing I'm changing. I'm going to silicone or seal it up for water, but I am not using butyl caulk. So I am straying away from the manual on the butyl caulking and water infiltration. I'm going to do it my way and just hopefully it works out okay, which I can't see why it won't. Okay, off we go, on to putting some flashing up. Probably not much. I got everything here. There's only a few bolts in each one, eh? This is what we'll need more than anything. Got to go through 6 layers. 6 layers of steel to get alignment. Okay, give me the prize. You want the gun? Here.
Yeah. Alright. Well, that's much better.
Don't go too tight,
okay.
Just to start.
All
right, good morning everybody. We're working on this Quonset building and we got the arches up, as you can tell, and I'll show you, and now we're working on the front walls. We're just setting these door posts right now, and I set them last night. Got the front wall. It's not quite done, but it's almost done. It's done enough where I can get it weatherproof for the moment for the winter and get working on the other side. And then I'll put the finishing touches on here because we have to get these walls up before winter. And you just got a line of bolts to go in along that upper trim up there. That's about it. You drill them yourself. There's a lot of field cutting to be done. And yeah, right there. Those are your primary uprights for your door right there. And they run right up inside your trim flashing up there, and that's it. And that's what we're going to be working on this morning. So another thing you have to do is you have to notch your IBCs. They tell you in the manual you notch your IBC, industrial base connector, here. So your other base connector slides right in and goes right into your flashing here. So this has to be cut out, which I started last night, but I'd had enough, so I went in. But anyway, that's where we are today. Looking at this, we have to make sure that that door frame is not only plumb, level, front to back, but square door opening to that side too. So we have this one already set. Now, we're going to shoot all of this right in here on this side. I'm going to temporarily get it in place. I'm going to do all my measurements. We're going to go corner to corner, make sure everything's square, because your door frame has to be, if anything, you want that door frame square. So okay, so first things first, we'll notch this industrial base connector so this guy will slide in there. Of course, this isn't a grinding disc. This is a zip cut. This is meant for cutting steel, not grinding, but what we're going to do is use it for grinding a little bit just to finish this off. And but these are not ideal for grinding. but they're deadly for cutting steel. All right, so these overall door supports on each side, they come in about 14'6", something like that. They give you a little extra meat on the end, and it's up to you to field cut to fit. And we need them cut about 14'2". And so I cut this one and I put it up, and it's a little bit too snug to fit up in that flashing. So I'm going to cut another 1/2 inch off it, and we're going to fit it in there, and there you go. I'm lost without my speedy square. This end here is really not that critical, the one we're hacking off, because that is the end that is going to slide up inside that C-channel, and there's lots of forgiveness in that C-channel, probably 3.5 inches in there. So you can be a little bit lower, but you can't be too high. If you're too high, then it's just too hard to jam this post in there, and you don't want that hard metal on metal jamming in there like that. And really that's all there is to it. Use that zip cut it overall length, and then now we're going to go up there and fit it. All right, so we got the door header in, lifted it up with the JLG, and just drilled the 4 holes and put the header in. Bolted in, as you can see, the flashing right there. We got that all put in, got the header in, and we're just continuing on. Okay, everybody, I got the second portion of this front wall on there, and right now what I'm doing is right here. Once you get your finisher on here, I call it the finishing piece. It's the finishing final piece. Once you get it on here, then they say some field cutting is required. You'll read that in your manuals on these. There's lots of field cutting in different spots, whatever. So then what I do is lay these holes out in the same row as all the other ones. These are not pre-drilled. You mark them with a marker right across here, and then you just drill them. Pilot drill them first and ram them with a 5/16 bit. And drill your own, just to hold this flashing on here and hold this end piece firm, close up the gap, and really that's what you have to field cut. So yeah, you got to do a lot of fooling around field cutting, some fitting, and if things aren't quite right, and I've run into things that aren't quite right, whether it be my fault or whatever. It's just the way it is. Sometimes I screw things up. But anyway, it's coming along good. We're just finishing this finisher. It's in the afternoon, probably 4:30. We started this morning. And like I say, we got the header beam in today, which was nice. This door pillar on this side, that's in, of course, and we got the wall almost finished. And then that's good for a day. It doesn't look like much, but by the time you start setting stuff up, it adds up. Okay, what I do on here, I just run a small pilot drill. Easier to control on your first hole. And MJ's on the inside pushing back to make sure the plates really don't flex too much. And then throw in a 5/16 and away you go. Rock and roll it around a little bit, enlarge the hole instead of going to 3/8, and you're golden. Good morning, everybody. It is Halloween. Last day in October. And I'm hustling. Me and Mary Jane are working pretty hard to get this here because there is a little snow in the forecast for this week coming up. And so we're just picking away at this shop. If you guys watch these videos, I'll be putting a little bit of a series out and on this shop. So last night, we finished the front walls. The front wall, both sides, got them done yesterday. And today, we're gonna do that door header. And that's really what's left on that for the front of this. And then I got to put a few bolts in along the flashing all the way around the arch this morning. And I think that's what I'm striving for today. Just get this door header covered, sided, flashed in, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll get some bolts around this front arch. And that will be it for the front end for now. And we came to a conclusion that you guys may ridicule me on, but I went and inquired about overhead doors, sectional overhead 2-inch insulated roll-up door. Good doors, but I've axed that idea. They're $5,000. That's a big part of it because they're $5,000, and to be quite honest, I don't want to spend $5,000 in the front door. I just don't want to. The other option possibly would be an interior roll-up door, maybe a cheap galvanized one, and that's another option. But I've built several sliding track doors in my lifetime, probably 3 or 4, with the door tracks, the sliders, your drive shed style doors. They work good, and I may end up going with that. And I haven't decided, but I may be going that way. So, and all you really do is put your door track up there, cross that header, and the doors, that's a 12 by 12 opening, so your door will therefore be, of course, 12 by 12, maybe a little bit larger to have an overlap, and then just come out here and set a 6 by 6 pressure treated upright right here on the outside in the ground, and go straight up, and then run your door track all the way over. And have a slider on there, trolley door track slider, because realistically, a 12 by 12 door, when you slide it over, it's not going to be overhanging the building by that much. Actually, just a little bit, because you slide one direction, it'll overhang. And I can frame it all in and then put colored baked on enamel steel. I asked her what color door she wanted. She's not sure. We may go with a silver door. I don't know yet. And trim it up with some color. I'm not sure yet. But I don't think we're going to spend the $5K on a brand new door. And I'll two reasons. I want to get a job done, and I don't want to wait 4 months for a door. I don't want to wait till springtime for the door to arrive and fool around with hanging tarps this winter and all. I just really don't want to do that. And I think I can make a fairly good door on a door track. The only thing with a sliding door track is you got to flash over the top. So when that snow or rain comes down, the flashing deflects it over the front of the door, or it all gets in behind the track and drips down. Through experience, I've learned all that. So they work pretty good. You just have to set them up right. And the big disadvantage, of course, of a sliding door, as everybody knows, it's not as bad as barn doors. Barn doors here would be impossible because of the snow. It would just be a constant struggle with snow. At least with a sliding track door, I've got a downhill grade over there, and it wouldn't be too bad for clearance under the door for the door to slide out in the wintertime. As long as you bring maybe the track loader tractor in, keep your snow away from this side of the building so your door can slide open, really. That's all it's going to be. And probably chances are in the winter, I'm not really going to be opening this door 12 feet wide anyway, really. Because this is going to be storage. I might slide it open for now to get in and out. And another thing too, I shouldn't have ordered the man door. This man door over here, I shouldn't have ordered it. I think I pissed away $700 there. I think they're like $700, and I don't like it. And I'll show you why I don't like it. Number one, when I see it and I look at it, and I should have put a little more thought into it. They're just unattractive. They're nice as far as security, I guess. But the thing I don't like about them, had I known the threshold on this door welded in, I could modify it. Sticks up, well, 3.5 inches probably, this threshold. So when you go through this man door, well, you have to step up and over to get inside the building. I don't want that. That's not what I want. And it's got no natural light. It's got no screen. I shouldn't have really ordered it, so I'm on the fence about that man door, putting that in there. I kind of want some natural light in the building coming from the front, especially when the front's facing the south, for a little bit of passive solar. And I may even possibly, and that's the thing about the door when I build it, because the front of this building faces due south exactly, you get a lot of passive solar in here from that morning till, you know, pretty much later in the afternoon. It comes around and starts heading to the west. So I may build a door that may have 2 windows in the front also. I'm not sure yet, because I have 5 brand new windows over there, and I may put, and they're about 48-inch windows too, 48 by 36, no, 48 by 24s maybe. They're a tall, narrow window, and I could do 2 of them side by side, spaced on this door, and they have screens in them too. They're actually like a storm window. I'm not sure, to let some air in and let some passive solar through. So I'm not sure about the door, but we'll get there. I'm probably going to manufacture my own door. So that's what we're up to today. We're going to go up there and we're going to put that siding on that overhead door. So that's enough chit chat, and I'll just let you know what we're doing today, and off we go. All right, so just to give you an idea, you guys, on how these panels come in. These guys, when I bought this kit, they pre-label the panels, but if you leave the panels out in the rain will wash the marking right off these black markers and the identification of the panels right off, so you got to kind of watch that. You're best off if you get it to kind of tarp it up, but anyway, here's how they come in. Those are your panels for over top of your door, and you'll see, if you look closely, they're labeled right there, OD number 1, OD1. So these first 2 in the front right here, that's OD1 and 2, overhead door 1 and 2. And right there, overhead door number 2, both sides. Overhead door number 3, these twin panels. So you've got 3 sets, 1 for each side of the building. From center line out, polar opposites to each other, cut on the angles. So you end up with 6 pieces, 3 pieces per side up there, from the center line to the right and the center line to the left. 3 on the left side, 3 on the right side, and you end up with 6 pieces. And that's how they're labeled for you when they come in. They just write on them. They just write on these pieces for you in a black marker. So like I say, when it comes in, if your pieces are labeled and you're working on them and you're not going to do your building for a while, you should kind of maybe cover it up. It just makes identification easier. Or you're trying to form fit them up and down to see what goes where, and it could maybe get a little confusing. All right, so this panel here, hopefully you guys can hear me. This panel here is out. Well, actually, I'm probably out. It fits in there snug. It is a little bit tight. The last one, I had the field cut to length a little bit. And it's strange, you get these panels in. This guy here, I had to shave about 1/4 of an inch off him. This guy here is snug, but he fits. So we'll just leave it like that. So whether it's a deviation in my flashing a little bit up and down, I'm not sure. It's not a big deal. But you may have to just cut these and tweak these a little bit to fit. And that's what you have to do. That guy there, he's just a bit too tight. I couldn't quite get my bolt holes lined up. I got to shave just a little bit off this guy. Make sure if you're cutting to fit these panels a little bit for whatever deviation, whatever reason, build, construction, whatever. This is a set height. So if you ever have to cut and trim panels, do not cut on your set height end. Your factory flat set height from here to the center line of your hole, do not cut anything on this end. This is a set height. That will screw your bolt holes up, so remember that. It might seem obvious, but you might be in a hurry. Sometimes I get in a hurry, and you want to fit this panel in there, so you'll just nip off a little bit on this end. That's not going to do you any good, because your center line to your bolt holes and those brackets up there is preset. So if you cut from this end, yes, you've made the panel shorter, but you still have to lift it up to line up your bolt holes, and they'll in turn still jam up inside your flashing. So your cuts always have to be made on your fabricated end from the factory like this. Or sorry, your cut end from the factory. You see how these guys cut it at the factory with the black marker, rough cut? Always take your metal off this end, and so you don't screw up your center line of your bolt holes. It might seem obvious, but sometimes you forget, and I forget sometimes on different things. Now you see how much I'm taking off of that? I'm just taking off a little tiny bit to slip me in there. It wasn't off by much, but you know what? I'm not the perfect constructor. Maybe my arch has just got a bit of a sag, whatever. Who cares? We'll just cut her off. Alright, so we took that cut off the scrap end. And another thing I'll say, maybe I probably never said it before, but I was pretty much raised in heavy industry, worked my whole life in heavy industry and did excavating on the side. But anyway, when you're cutting metal like that, you guys, first of all, hearing protection, because those things are loud. Secondly, even more important, wear safety glasses, man, for those flying zip cut blades or grinder blades. And that flying metal, always keep safety glasses on. I can't believe how many guys on YouTube, whether they're forging on an anvil, because I like this blacksmithing, they're forging and all that, and these guys are not wearing safety glasses. I don't get it, but that's just how they roll, and that's up to them. But you know what? I need my friggin' eyes, and I need my ears. And I also thought this morning that I was going to have to hang a plumb bob to find center of that building, but that's completely irrelevant because your header has a center bracket up there, straight up there, and everything goes from that center line of that header, from that middle bolt pattern up there. Everything goes from that middle piece, so it wouldn't have mattered if I described the center line on the top of that arch to find center, because I've got my CL line on the floor right there. It's totally irrelevant up there. Your header's set. Those mounting brackets are already set on that header. So if you're out of whack, well, you're screwed. So, because you've got to bolt your steel to those brackets. So you don't need to drop a plumb bob from up there down to find your center of your building. You only got to drop a plumb bob to find your center line when you're first starting right there on the floor. You drop it from the center and you take your measurements from there to the outside for your door spacing and your pillar spacing for your door posts and everything. So it makes no difference up there for your center line of your building. It's already preset for you. I just thought I'd show you. It's preset for you off that header. So we'll go from there. And by the way, that's a 144-inch header. That's a 12-foot wide header. Okay, good morning everybody. We're starting the rear wall of this 30 by 50 Quonset Alpine series, and we're just doing a general caulking of these industrial base connectors and finding the center line of the building to put this back wall together. So have a little look. We found the center line of the floor right there, and we really just found rear center line by measuring from right here, this lip of this industrial base connector to the other lip on the other side of the industrial base connector over there. And I think it's 14 foot 5 3/4 to the center line right here. So we found center, we marked the CL on the floor right there as center line, and then you got to find the center of the building, and we go up there, drop a plumb bob down, we mark it. Up there is your center line of your building. Drop a plumb bob right down to the center line and strike it off on the top of the building. And that gives you pretty close idea of where your CL of your building is. And then another important step is, and by the way, I'm kind of dressed for winter this morning. It's -4 degrees. It froze up here last night. Another killer frost, heavy frost, which is whatever, 25 degrees Fahrenheit. So it froze up last night here. So that's why I'm dressed like it's wintertime, because it's a bit cooler out. So anyway, what we got here, we're running this butyl caulk right there. And to get that, keep that water infiltration down, we just run a double bead right there all the way down the industrial base connector of butyl caulking, and that's what we're putting on this morning. So we just run double beads of butyl caulk down here. We found our center line, then we'll flip them over, we'll put our base connectors down, and we'll get them as parallel as we can to each other on this center seam with a straight edge, and then we're going to lag them down, and then we'll carry on, and we're going to set this wall. Hopefully get this wall set, or half this wall set today. Okay, off we go. All right, good late afternoon, everybody. I'm standing in front of the finished rear wall, which was the final piece of this Quonset to go together. I got some finishing touches to do. I got a few lag bolts to put on the back wall, but I got enough lag bolts outside just to hold this wall in position. Really, all I wanted to do was get this up structurally before winter, and I'm happy. So now I got a few lag bolts to put in the rear wall, and we got to tighten every bolt in this building, but at least we got it up. The whole thing is up. We got all this up today. The rear wall's completely in. 16-foot rear wall, all done. Spin around. And there's the final product right there. 30 by 50 Pioneer Series Alpine building. And I'm glad to get it up. It took us about 3.5 weeks, me and MJ, just hitting it almost every day. Probably 6 hours a day, 5 to 8, actually 5 to 8 hours a day, whatever. All right, you guys. I did my concrete lags at the back for now. We're going to get up here while we can, and we're going to tighten up the rest of these roof bolts, and then we're done. We've tightened up 85% of this building. And as you can see, I got a new feather light ladder there I went and bought the other day from Home Depot, fiberglass, just because I don't want to scratch the building, and I needed a good fiberglass, a good extension ladder, period. So I went and bought that. And we got the ladder tied off all the way across the building to the other side. All right, I'm ready to go. All right. So MJ's inside, and she's on the scissor lift. And my job is to hold the bolts if they spin. Well, first of all, my job is to hold onto the roof so I don't slide off. And then if we find a spinner, I hold on to it. I'm more concerned about sliding off the roof. But we're pretty good with the bolts anyway. And it's not always an exact science up here either, you guys. She can't really tell how tight to tighten them, and sometimes you do get metal on metal and you really compress the weather washer, but so be it. You know what? You can't be on the inside and outside at the same time, and it's hard to hear each other, so she just torques them. So remember, not only is she tightening up the nut to make a weather seal, you're also tightening them up to make the building more structural, give the building more structural integrity, and compress it metal on metal. Go ahead. So you're making a weather seal, and you're giving the building structural integrity. You're doing your final tighten on your bolts, and then that's it. So that's about it for putting the building up. Now I got to do some final touches. I got to do a little bit of flash work, and I'm going to do some more caulking work. I bought a bunch of silver aluminum caulking. I'm going to caulk different spots. And around the base plates, I'm just going to put go around and do all the finishing touches to this building, but for the most part, there it is. And yeah, 3.5 weeks of labor right there. But you know what? I'm pretty happy. Turned out pretty good. You just got to get at her and get her done. I think there's 5,500 bolts in here. Oh yeah, and I think the building on the bill of lading said this building weighs 7,500 pounds. So 7,500 pounds is what it weighs. And All right, thanks for tuning in, and I'll do some finishing touches, a little more filming and stuff, and then we'll go from there. Okay, thanks, bye.